Welcome back to MotoTOYS, the show. My name is Ben. I am your host for today and probably forever. Anyways, BMX. We ran into a little bit of a snag last time with the axle length being a little bit too long. We are going to fix that. And by fix that, I mean chop the hell out of it and re-weld it. Stay tuned. Alright, as you can see, we've brought our little bike project out into the garage here so we don't set the house on fire with the angle grinder, because it's going to make a lot of sparks. It's going to be awesome. It's always a good idea, though, to make sure you have some adequate ventilation here so you keep the dust particles out of your lungs, because lung cancer sucks. So, that being said, let's get started. Okay, so you can see we have a nice line on this side. So now I'm going to use the smaller grinder so I can get on to the other side and then cut all the way through the metal right there. Alright, that should be good enough to wiggle loose here. Okay, so now I've switched over to a grinding wheel instead of a cutting wheel so we can get rid of the extra weld marks that are still on the fork here. Okay, so now we're going to prep the new spot for welding by removing any paint with our handy dandy wire wheel. Okay, so I was looking at this piece a little more carefully and I noticed that it is not straight. That has been bent out for some reason. Maybe a different size axle was put in there that was too small and it was clamped together. Maybe it's already been taken off and welded before. Who knows? It's an old bike. So we're just going to put this in the vise and hammer that back in place. Fix it. There we go. Now we'll just bring this over to the bench grinder to clean it up a bit. Okay, so I've brought the bike down to the ground here so it's easier to see. You're probably wondering, how are we going to get this bracket lined up accurately so that the wheel fits? Easy. We're going to put the wheel on first and then hold the bracket in place when we tack it in with this wheel. Only problem is, guess what? The wheel doesn't fit in the slot there. So we get to grind that too. There we go. Okay, so now that we got our wheel on, you can see we have a little bit of a gap along this whole edge here, and we can fix that by squaring off this corner right here. So I'm going to take this bracket off and then grind it down with the little wheel and then put it back on, and that should get rid of our gap. So it'll be just like that, except we won't have the gap on top. Okay, so now that's taken care of. You can see we got rid of our gap. I'm going to use a little hand clamp here to hold this in place, so we'll be ready to tack weld it in place. There we go. Now we have no gaps. Okay, here we go. Gonna get a good ground here right below where we're gonna weld. There. Okay, there we go. Now that it's tacked in place, we can turn off the welder here and remove our hand clamp, which is a little melted. Yay! Plastic fumes. Okay, then we'll just take the wheel off here, get that out of the way so we don't fry up our nice rubber there. So now that's kind of temporarily held in place, so we're gonna brush off that crap there, and then we can go ahead and finish with a constant weld all the way down the side. Okay, so now that we got our welding done, we can disconnect our ground there, get that out of the way, and then we can brush off all this extra dust from the welder. There we go, now it's all ready for some new paint. And now for the fun part, waiting for this paint to dry. Yeah! Alright, now that we have that set up, we can go ahead and put our tires on. When the bike's upside down, the tread should be pointed away from you. And now we're just going to go ahead and do the same thing for the back wheel. Okay, so now before I tighten up the nuts on the rear wheel, I'm going to install the chain here to make sure we have good tension. Alright, there we go. Okay, so now that our chain is installed, I'm just going to pull the wheel back and then rotate it to make sure we don't have any slack in the chain. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm just going to make sure the wheel is straight. Alright, the alignment looks good there. Looks like the tensioner is going to be causing a little rubbing, so I'm going to move that over in the most precise way possible here. Okay, there we go. That's looking good. Now I'm just going to go ahead and tighten up the axle nuts. Okay, now I'm going to attach the rear brake arm with this little strap that came along with the old bike that I took this wheel off of. Okay, now that's attached, we can just bend that extra tab out of the way that we don't need. Alright, now I'm going to compress the brakes here and then pull the cable tight and retighten the nut right on the cable. Alright, that's it for today. Make sure to join us next time when BMX Ecstasy hits the road. Alright, that's it for today, folks. Thank you for watching once again. Make sure to subscribe and hit that little bell icon so you can see our next episode. Anyways, we also have some new projects on the horizon, dare I say some with 4 wheels. It's going to be awesome. So again, subscribe, bell icon thing. It's going to be cool. There's going to be a lot more episodes. See you guys and girls next time.